Hi guys, I got a request to do something with paystack variable products, and with that I mean how is it that one can actually save dynamic products on paystack. And the major thing right there is being able to detect a product name and then the price that is really assigned to that. That's what this part of the video is going to actually illustrate right now, right? So I have the products coming in from an array, and if you really want to use, let's say you want to put them in a database and then pick them out of a database, that's really very simple. By the time you are done watching this, that will give you a clear clue on how to do that. And I do have a video on Udemy that I actually used. I did something of this nature, selling a dynamic products directly from a database. So everything were coming from a database. If you want to do that, you definitely would like to check out my course on Udemy. Yeah, the truth now is that the course is not fully ready, but I have a course and also an ebook that is actually ready right now. If you need the ebook or you would like to purchase the course when the course goes live, you can go ahead and contact me. I'm going to leave my email at the description box below, or you can just put a comment in the comment section below and I will respond to you from there in case you need the premium video that I'm going to release on Udemy or the ebook itself. The ebook is ready now and I've covered all of this in the ebook. So if you need that, you can just let me know right away, right? But I will just want you to understand that this is really coming from something like an associative array right now. So once you grab this, then you can really do that even without needing any help based on how to fetch that from a database and then make use of it. So basically have products on this page, and each of the products, once you click on the product, takes you to another page where you will have to kind of look at the details of the product, and if you want to buy, you can fill in your form, fill in the email address right here and click on order now. Alright, so let's take a look at the product again. We basically have 3 products right here. The first one is a paystack integration ebook, and the second one, the price. Let's look at the price now. The price is 700, and this is Floater Wave integration ebook. The price is 800, and then the last one is PayPal integration ebook, and the price is just 1,000 naira. So you can purchase any product among these 3 products, and if you want to add, you can really add an unlimited product to this anytime you want. So by adding to the array, anytime you want to purchase any of these books that we have right here, or these ebooks, you can just go ahead and click on the buy button. So let's make an attempt to purchase this first one, which is Paystack integration ebook, sold at 700 naira. So let's click on that right now, and that is going to go ahead and open up that particular product, details of the product. Alright, so this is Paystack integration ebook, and the price is just 700 naira. And if you want to make a payment to this particular ebook and get it, you need to fill in your email address. So let's go ahead and use something like let's say we're going to use let's make use of Henry Ford as the purchase. We're going to just say Henry Ford at gmail.com. Let's assume that this is the email address of the person that is going to buy this right now, and if you click on order, it's going to attempt to take you to the payment page where you have to make payment for this particular product. And as you can see, it has taken us to the payment page, and if you look at the the email address, it has been passed on to this form with the price that is associated with that particular product. Alright, so what you need to do right now is to select any of the card, and I'm still on the test mode, and that is because I'm just testing. If you switch from test mode to a live mode, which I'm going to show you later, you're not going to have this card pre-filled automatically for you. There is going to be an empty input field that you have to type in your card details, and then you can go ahead and make payment. But because I'm on a test mode, Paystack automatically pre-fills their test card in this particular field. So I'm going to choose the first one called this one that ends with 4081, and I'll go ahead and click on pay 700 naira, and that's going to go ahead and then charge the customer for that amount, and it's going to go ahead and redirect us to the verification endpoint, and in this case it's going to generate this page for us, and that's going to come up with the email that is associated with that payment and the reference to that particular payment that you have just made. And we went ahead and fetched the product name that the person really purchased. This is the description of that particular product, and this is the amount to that particular product. And what we're doing right here is that we really visited the endpoint, the verify endpoint. That is an endpoint on Paystack where you must have to reach before you give value to your customer. You need to verify that the customer really paid for a particular product before you give value to them. Alright, and for instance, let's say somebody did not really pay and wants to access this page. And note that this is the page you can really use to give value. You can, if it is an ebook, you can actually kind of drop a link to downloading the ebook right here. Alright, and let's say for instance this person maybe changes the reference. Let's change that from 9 to something like 8. If you try to open this page right now, I'm going to refresh now. You're going to see what will happen. You see the page will deny the person access to this particular page. It is going to tell you that the transaction reference was not found, and that is because you just changed only one character right here. So if I put it back to 9 and I refresh, I'm going to see that it's going to open that page again. And if you do not have a reference at all, let's say we take away the reference entirely and we'll try to visit this page, you are going to see that it's going to say no reference was supplied. Alright, so this page is really actually protected. So once you put something that's really within the endpoint, the paystack endpoint, I'm talking about the reference. If the reference is within the endpoint, it's going to go ahead and open up the page for you. So let's put that back the right reference, and you're going to see that it will open that up right away. So this is really a protected page. If someone had not really paid for this, the person would hardly, will not have access to this particular page. Alright, so that's what that is, and we have really purchased this. So the next thing that I would like to show you right now is that we're going to have to visit our email, because anytime you make a successful payment, Paystack is going to go ahead and then send the buyer, the owner of the shop and even the buyer, an email notifying them of the sales that they have made. So we're going to go to our Gmail right now and see whether we have received any email from Paystack about this product that we just sold or that we just purchased. Alright, so as you can see, we have a new email from Paystack. This is a payment received from Paystack right now. And if I go ahead and click on that, let's see what is inside. Alright, and the email opens, and if you look up here, you're going to see that the payment of that 700 naira from henryford@gmail.com really went through, and this is really the the reference code. So if you go back to the verification page, you're going to see that the reference code is the same thing with what we have within that email. So that really tells you that the payment really went through. Alright, so they're going to send a message, and this is what the owner is going to receive. This is the owner of the shop. Alright, so the email you are looking at now is a copy of the email that they will send to the owner of the shop. So they're going to say something like henryford@gmail.com just paid you a certain amount of money. And if you went through something like building a proper customer by reaching the customer endpoint, you're going to have the person's name displayed here instead of the email. So that's just that. And I also did something of that nature within the course that I have on Udemy. You have to first of all reach the customer creation endpoint to create a proper customer first before you go ahead and take them to the payment page. So you're going to get all of that and more, even subscriptions. So I have really visited all the endpoints within Paystack on the course that I have on Udemy, or the ebook that is already in place right now. But then if you look at the transaction details, we have this right here, and this is the date. Today is 26th. And if you look at the card, the card, they are going to send you what ends with the card. That's the 481, which I really showed you before now. This is the product name. Remember, we purchased the integration ebook one, Paystack, and then this is the description of the product, and this is the price. This is basically what they're going to send to you. Yeah, so that is that. So let's try and then maybe buy another product, maybe this time around product 2, and see whether we can still have something that looks really similar. So we're going to go ahead and purchase this one right now, which is called the Flutter Wave Integration ebook. So I'm going to click on buy, and I'm going to go ahead and put a different email right here. So I'm going to say something like, let's say chito@gmail.com, and if I go ahead and click on order now. Alright, so that's going to go ahead and take us to the payment page, and if you select the card and click on pay 800 naira, that's going to go ahead and charge the card and to also generate that verification page for you again. And as you can see, this time around it's chito@gmail.com, and this is the reference code. If you look at the URL, you see that right there, and this is the product name, and this is the description, and then the amount. And if you go back to your email and wait for the email, of course. So let's go back to the inbox. Alright, and if you go to your inbox right now, as you can see, the email have already arrived. And if you look at that, this is payment of 800 naira from Chito at Gmail. And if you open that up, you still have basically the same details. So if you look at that, the reference should be the same thing with what we have already seen on the URL. So this is it. So if you look at the verification page, the reference is really the same. And the product name, let's look at the product name. You see now that this is FlutterWave, this is FlutterWave integration ebook. So you see how dynamic that works. That is just what we're going to be doing in this part of the video. So what I'm going to do first of all is to kind of show you a picture of what we are going to be going through right now. So let me open up a picture and show you something. Alright, so this picture really depicts two major things, and the first one is just the API endpoints that we are going to reach in order to do the transaction initiation, and then that of the verify endpoint. So this is a URL to the endpoint, this number one. So the endpoint is just api.paystack.co/transaction/initialize. And the second one is where we are going to have to verify the payment. After we have made payment from this first one, we will now have to verify the person's payment following this second API and the endpoint. So the URL is just api.paystack.co/transactions/verify : then reference. Then the next thing that I want to explain on this image is this requirement. You see, Paystack requires that you should have two things in place before you can really initiate a transaction with Paystack, and that is the email and then the amount. That's just the two things that Paystack requires you to have before you can really initiate a transaction. But I went ahead to spell out all the necessary things that all the possible things that you can do with the initialization endpoint. So the first one is just email, the second one is an amount, and the callback URL is just the part of the integration where you have to put the link that people will be redirected to after they make payments. And then after that, this is just the reference. This is where you have to generate the reference code for the unique reference code for the transaction that is taking place. Then the fifth one is just plan, which is a plan that you have to create if you are working with subscriptions. So you can really initiate a subscription within the transaction endpoint if you want. You can use the Paystack's GUI to create the plan, and after you create that, they will generate a plan code for you that you place in this place that will enable anybody that pays through this particular URL that has a plan code to be subscribed to a particular plan. And then the next one is the invoice, which talks about sending invoice to your customers. And the last one, the seventh one is the metadata, which is really the part where you have to include some additional custom fields that Paystack is going to send to you as the owner of the shop to really clarify what people are really paying for on your website. And that's where I actually placed the product name and then the product description from what you have already seen in the demo that I just showed you. And then the last one is a sub account, and then for sub account, this is just talking about how is it that you can allow other people to earn on your platform. And I have all these things. I've done these things within the ebook that I have written, and then it's also available. The videos are available for people to grab. It's a premium video on Udemy, which is not really, I've not actually uploaded everything now, but I've started uploading videos to Udemy. So if you need it, you can just contact me. Alright, so I think that's the only thing that I will need to explain right now. Or do we have any more things to explain? Okay, so let's go to our browser right now. And alright, so if you must follow along with me, one thing that you need right now is to create an account with Paystack. And to do that, you can just come to paystack.com and you click on create free account, and you will have a free account created with Paystack. They have two levels of accounts. First one is a free personal business account, and the other one is has to be a verified business account with them. So I'm actually on the free business account. I think they call it a personal business account, something of that nature. So if you click on this particular button, I don't want to go through that right now because it's so simple. You can do that. So you just have to create a free account with them, or if you have business registered with something like a corporate affairs commission, that's CAC, you can go with their business, their commercial accounts. But for now, I'm on a test, a free business account, so that's what I'm using. But if you do that right now, whichever kind of account that you create, once you do that, you need to log into the account. So I'm going to go ahead and log into my own right now and show you how my dashboard looks like. Alright, so if you have your own account created and you are logged into your dashboard right now, you are going to have an interface that looks like this, but you may not have any money displayed right here because you have not really earned anything yet. And the money you are seeing here is not really a real money. As you can see, if you look up here, you see that I'm on a test mode. So if I switch to a live mode, this money will disappear. Alright, so make sure that you're on the test mode. If you want to be on the live mode, you can click on this toggle to switch to a live mode, and let's do that and see. So I just switched to my live mode right now, and if you look at this place, you see that that money that we have right here has disappeared. So that was not a real money, that's the money that I made testing the application. Alright, so I'm going to go back to the test mode right now. That's where you should be as far as this testing or this integration is concerned. When you are done doing everything that you want to do, you can go to live mode, and that's where you will earn real money. Okay, so let us click on transactions to see the transaction that we just made right now, whether they really came to Paystack or not. So if you click on transactions, that should display all the transactions that you have been making so far. Alright, so as you can see, we have the 2 transactions in. The last one we did was chito@gmail.com, and the last one, the first one was henryford@gmail.com. And if you click on any of them, you see the details of the product or whatever that the person purchased. Alright, so let's click on that and see. Alright, so as you can see, you see that we have success right here, and this is the amount. If you look at the reference, it's still the same, and if you scroll down, you see that the message was set to successful, and this is the product name, Filter Wave, and this is the description and even the price, and this is the customer. Alright, so that's just how that looks like. That's just what I want to show you right now, and we'll come back to this particular dashboard later because we're going to need our authorization key, and yeah, so that's it. So the next thing I want to show you right now is to just take you to the documentation page, which is right here. And so if you want to use the documentation page, you can go to paystack.com/doc/API, then /transaction, and you'll be presented with this particular documentation. So the first one that we're going to visit will be this the transaction endpoint. Alright, and we are going to need the authorization key, which is the test secret key in our own case. But if you're on the live mode, you can use your live secret key. I'm going to show you the key later, and we're going to set the content type to application first/JSON. And if you scroll down more, you'll see that the 2 basic things that we need is just an amount and then an email. Well, those other things that I showed you from the picture are still there. So if you click on show optional parameters, it will display that, and yeah, so that's just what that is. And if you scroll down a little bit, you will see that of the verify endpoint, but I don't need to bother myself with that right now. So I'm going to just go ahead and yeah, let's go back to, let me close this email. Yeah, let me close this page, verification page, and next thing that we need to do now is to go ahead and get into our development environment and see how we can build an application of this nature together. Alright, so I'm in my local drive right now. I'm in my server. So if you want to get, I'm using XAMPP. If you don't know, I'm using XAMPP right now. So if you go to your XAMPP, go to your htdocs, which is basically your server. We want to create a folder for the project that we want to work on right now. So let's go ahead and call this let's go ahead and call it something like, let's say Cell Dynamics, or let's just say Cell Dynamic, just like that. Let that be the folder name that we're going to use right now, and let's go ahead and open that folder in a new, yeah, let's open it up with our VS Code. I'm going to open that up with my VS Code right now. Alright, so I have the folder open right now and it's completely empty. So let's create our first file. So I'm going to create an index. So it's going to be index.php. go ahead and open that up, and I'm going to also create another file that I will call product.php. It's going to be called the product.php. Go ahead and open that up, and then the first thing that I would like to work on right now will be on the index page. So let's go ahead and get the skeleton of how the index is going to look like. But before we do that, I think it will be necessary for us to first of all create the CSS folder. So let's say we have we're going to create a CSS folder for the work, and within the CSS folder we're going to have to create a style file. So we're going to say style.css. That's going to be where we're going to put our styling. Alright, and yeah, so let's go ahead and work on our index.php right now. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to do now is to go ahead and populate this page with the basic HTML body and head tag, and I should go ahead and of course have to add the title right here. So let's say that the title of this one is going to be Sell Dynamic Products using paystack. And then the next thing that I would like to do right now is to go ahead and then link to my CSS down here. And to do that is really very simple. So I'm going to just say link rel. This is going to be, let's say we're going to link that. This is going to be set to something like style sheet. And the next one is going to be the href attribute, which is going to be the location of the file. So it's going to be found in CSS, and from CSS we can now get the style.css, and that is just what we need right there. So the next thing is to get into the body right now, and the first thing that I would like to do in the body is to go ahead and let's say we go ahead and kind of give it a h1 right there. So we're going to have h1, and that is going to be, well, let's go ahead and use the same title that we used up here. So I'm going to copy this title right now, place it right here, and go ahead and close the h1 just like that. And then the next thing that we need right now is to go ahead and then let me go ahead and use something like hr right here to close out it kind of demarcates that part of the code. So the next thing that I would like to do now is I want to create a div right here. So let's just create a div and give it a class of let's call that container that we're going to use to wrap everything together. So let's call that container, and yeah, let's go ahead and close that div down here so that we don't forget. Close that div right there, and within this div, what I want to do right now is to create another div that is going to hold down the product. So let's go ahead and do that div, and we're going to give it a class. Let's go ahead and call this product. Let's go ahead and call that product, and we should also go ahead and close that right away so that we don't forget. Just like that. Then within this product div, what I want to do right now is to start bringing out the product details. So the first one that I want to look at right now will be the product name. So I'm going to put that in history. So it's going to be history right here, and I'm going to just say name colon, and I'm going to go ahead and then statically type the product name right there, which we're going to dynamically change later. So this is going to be paystack integration ebook, right? Ebook right there, and go ahead and close the h3 like that. And then the next thing that we need to look at right now will have to be the product price. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in a small tag. So I'm going to just say small, and I'm going to just say product price colon, and I'm going to go ahead and then type the price for the first one is going to be 700. So I'm going to type 700 right here, and I know that we're going to need the naira sign, and if you are using maybe you are from Ghana or Kenya or any other part of the country, you should be able to find your own sign of currency. So as far as Nigeria is concerned, I'm going to use there is a code for naira sign right here in Nigeria. So I'm going to just say $, and I'm going to say just say 8358, then semicolon. This is going to go ahead and then, okay, there's a mistake. I need to add hash right here. This is going to give me naira sign. All right, so this is just what is going to give someone a naira sign. And yeah, let me just create maybe a little space right here. and I should go ahead and close the price right here. So let me just go ahead and say small, and with that we've really closed the small tag. And the next thing that we need to do right now is to put the product description in place. Someone will just say, let's put that in let's put it in a paragraph. I think paragraph should be able to do that. So it's going to be in a paragraph. So I'm going to just say product description, and to describe the product I'm going to go ahead and then type the following. So I'm going to say something like this: ebook is built using something, let's say PHP and cURL for seamless integration of paystack, like that. And I'm going to go ahead and close the p tag right there, and yeah, so that is just what that is going to be. So the next thing that I need to do right now is to go ahead and let's say we're going to provide a place where we're going to put a picture right here. You know what, I know that it doesn't really hurt to include an image right now. I think we should just go ahead and do that. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to just create a folder for images, and I'll show you what those images right now. So we're going to go to our development environment, our folder for the work that we're working on right now, and that is cell dynamic. This is the file, the folder that we're working on right now. So go ahead and paste the folder right there, which is called the images. So this is the folder I've just pasted, and we have those three images that we have I have already shown you. So we have ebook 1, ebook 2, and then ebook 3. Alright, so that's what we have right now. And so let's go ahead and kind of bring in that those images right now. So I'm going to bring in the first one right now, and to bring that is going to be img src for the source. And of course I need to reference to the images folder first before I go ahead and bring in the image itself. So we have ebook 1, and the extension, I think it is a JPG, I believe. And as far as the auth is concerned, we're going to just go ahead and say something like, let's say pics, something like that. Then for the size of the image is something that let's just say something like let's say we're going to give it a width of let's say it's going to be something like, so let's say that the width is going to be just 100%, and it's going to be by a height of let's say that the height is going to be something like, let's say 300 pixels, just like that. So we'll go ahead and close that. And if we go ahead and to get the other three images right now, it's really very simple. What we're going to do is to go ahead and copy this product. I'm going to copy this and then paste it right here, and we can go ahead and change the name. So the second one is called I think it was called the flutter wave integration. So I'm going to just say flutter wave right here. So it's going to be flutter wave integration ebook, and then the price is 800, I believe. And as far as the description is concerned, let's go ahead and change this to integration of flutter wave, just like that. And then for the last one, okay, let's change the picture. Alright, so let's change the second picture. This is going to be ebook 2. I'm going to type 2 right there, and I'll change this to GIF instead of JPG. It's going to be GIF, like that. And then yeah, so I'll copy this again and duplicate it, and then let's change this one. This time around it's going to be paper. It's going to be paper integration ebook, and the price is I think it was 1,000 naira. So we're going to change that to 1,000, and let me close this out. And then this is going to be paper, so we're going to put paper right here. For the image, it's going to be ebook 3. This is going to be JPG. And I'm going to go ahead and save that right now. And if we go to our browser to take a look at that in our browser, let's just sort to the file. Let's say localhost /cell dynamic, and this is how it is looking right now, and it absolutely look ugly, but we do justice to that in our CSS. And I figured that we did not also add a footer. Before we go ahead and work on the CSS, let's add a footer and then a link to all of these products that we have on this page. Okay, so we need to add something like a link, just maybe beneath the images, and then we should also go ahead and add a footer. So let's do that right now. Let's go back to our development environment. Alright, so let's go ahead and create the link right here. So in the future, we're going to create a page that we're going to call by.php. So let's go ahead and put the page right here. So I'm going to call that by.php, and I'm going to modify the link later. We're going to add a couple parameters to it, but for now, let's just leave that like that. And let's say we're going to add the word by. That will be the text that people will see. Then we'll go ahead and close off the A tag. I'm going to copy the tag right now, and then I'll paste it underneath every other product that we have right here. So I'll paste it on the first one also, and that is just that for the link. Then let's scroll down and do something to that of the footer right now. So let's say that we're going to have a footer to display the copyright notice. So what we're going to do right now, let's go ahead and put it out here. And to do that, I'm going to put that in HTML5 tag called footer, and let that be copyright, and let the copyright symbol. So get the copyright symbol from HTML5, you can just say &copy, then you terminate. And the next thing is to put the company name. So let's say that this is going to be called Appkinder, which is a fictional company. You can just say appkinder.com for now, or let's just leave it at Appkinder right there. And we can go ahead and close the footer like that. And if we wrap this in a p tag, that won't be a problem at all. So let's go ahead and put that in a p tag like this. And that is just that for the footer. So let's move ahead. Let's go get that saved and go to our CSS and start styling the work that we have right now. So the first thing that I would like to do now is to zero out all the margins by using this reset selector, which is asterisk. So I'm going to just do that right now. I'm going to first of all set the margins of everything we have on that page to 0 pixels, and I'll do the same thing to the padding. It's still going to be 0 pixels like that, and that is just that. Then the next thing that I want to do right now is to move on to the body, and what I want to do to the body right now is to go ahead and set a background to the body. So let the background to the body be equal to, I'm going to go ahead and set it to this following hexadecimal number. So it's going to be #33 0000 like that. That's going to be the type of a background that we're going to give to that. It may not be an ideal background, but you can change it to your own. And the next thing that I would like to do now is to style the H1. So I'm going to just go ahead and then center the text with a text align. Let's go ahead and set that to center of the page. And the next thing that I want to do on that H1 is going to be the color of the text. So let's say that we'll set the color of this text to be equal to something like let's say white, and that will be okay. So that is just that for the what is it called, the H1. The next thing that I would like to do now is to move on to the class that we created before now, which we basically called a container. And to reference to a class, we use dot, then the name of the class. So it's going to be just called a dot container, and we can now go ahead and write a style for the container right here. So the first thing that I would like to do right now is to make sure that I display the content of that container as flex. And because some browsers do not really understand that, we're going to write it in such a way that will reference to some classes of browsers. So the first thing is going to be, I'm going to just say display, and the first thing I'm going to do now is to target the WebKit browser. So I'm going to say -webkit-flex like that. And what that means is that I've just targeted the WebKit browser. And the next thing that I would like to work on right now will still have to be that display, but that will be working on some other browsers like Chrome and then the rest. So I'm going to just say display, and I'm going to go ahead and set that to flex. That is it for some other browsers. And then the next thing that I would like to do now is to make sure that I put the content to the center of the web page. And to do that with a CSS3, we're going to just say justify dash content, and we're going to justify that to the center of the web page, right? And of course that is going to work on a certain browser. But if I want to target other browsers that this one may not work on, then what I will have to do is to just say dash webkit dash justify dash content, and I'm going to go ahead and set that to center like that. Okay, so just try to understand that the first one is justify content center, alright, and the second one is to target other browsers. So I'm going to just say dash webkit dash justify dash content, then you set it to the center of the web page. That's basically what I want to do, to just kind of put things in the center of that web page. And the next thing that I would like to do now is to just say width, as I'm trying to set the width of the web page right now, or the container. So the width is going to be set to, I'm going to go ahead and set that to 80% of the web page right now. Okay, and then the next thing I want to do is to go ahead and set a background for that particular container, and it's going to be the same thing that we already have up here. So I'm going to copy this color, copy that color right there, and paste it here. That is just that for the background. And the next thing that I would like to do now is if I save and refresh this web page, you're going to see that something will happen right now. The styles will apply, but the content will be floated to the left. So let's go ahead and refresh the web page and see. And that didn't apply. Maybe you should clear the cache with Control F5. And that really applies. So this is how it will be looking right now. However, the first thing that I would like to do right now is to make sure that the content of this web page, talking about beginning from here to this place, the way that it is floated to the left right now is not good. So I'm going to make sure that I shift everything to the center of this web page, the container itself. And to do that, we're going to just have to add just a single line right here, and that is going to be called let's go ahead and say margin. I'm going to set the margin to be auto, and that's going to help push every content to the center of that web page. So if we save this web page now and go back to our browser, if we refresh, we should push this container to the center of the web page, and as you can see, that works really fine. So that is just that. And yeah, so that is it. Now let's go back to our development environment, and the next thing that I would like to work on now will be the product. So we have a class that we call product, and if I want to reference to a class, you already know that. So I'm going to say .product like that, and I'm going to go ahead and write some styles for the product right now. And the first thing that I want to say will be to change the background of the product. So let the background column right now be, let's set that to be equal to white. So I'm going to take white right there. And the next thing that I would like to do is to go ahead and set the width for the product. And since we have the width of the web page to be 80%, if you divide 80% by 3, we're going to get something like 26.60 something, and we're going to approximate that to something like 27 to really divide the product boxes into 3 equal parts. So I'm going to just say 27% right there. So that will be what we're going to divide that into. Then I'm going to give it a margin. Let's say that the margin is going to be 10 pixels like that, and then the next thing will be the padding. Let's give that the same size. That will be 10 pixels. And yeah, so the next thing that I want to do now is to kind of set the line height rather. So I'm going to just say line height, and I'm going to set that to be equal to something like, let's say 1.5 will be enough for that. And that is just that. So I'm going to get out of this place right now. Let me scroll up so that you guys can see everything clearly. And what I want to do next is to style the h3, which is the header of the product. So it's going to be .product right there, and space, I'm going to just say h3. That is, I'm targeting the h3 right now. And I'm going to go ahead and change the background. That will be the first thing that I will do right now. So the background of that h3 is going to be set to, let's say, to this, what is it called, hexadecimal number. So it's going to be #14 again, and then 1F. So that will be the color that we're going to go ahead and set that. Okay, so that's 14 1F. That will be the background color to that. So I'm going to set the color of the text to be equal to white right now. So, and the next thing will be to go ahead and set the font size. So I'm going to just say font dash size, and I'm going to go ahead and set that to something like, let's say 25 pixels will be enough for that. Yeah, so let's use that. And the next thing that I would like to do right now is to go ahead and work on the small tag. Remember the tag that we created that we called a small, and that is for the price, I think. So I'm going to just reference to the small tag right here. So it's going to be small, and within this small, I want to change let's say I change the font size of the text that will be there to something like let's go ahead and set that to 23 pixels. I mean 22, let's say 22 pixels. And the color, let's go ahead and also change the color to red. So the color of the price will look red, will be a red color rather. And that is just that for the small tag. And then the next thing that I would like to work on now will be the anchor tag, which is what we just added recently. So we're going to style the links right now. That's what that means. So it's going to be, let's say that the background of that is going to be green. Let's call that green. And the next thing that we're going to do right now is to change the color. So the color can be white. That will look nice on a green background. And the next thing that we want to do now is that we're going to go ahead and display that link in block level element. And the reason that I'm doing that is because it will be hard to kind of center that or put that on a separate line rather if we don't convert it to a block level element, because by default it is an inline level element. So I'm going to go ahead and display that as block, and that means I've converted it from inline element to block level element, and that is that. So I'm going to go ahead and text align the stuff to the center of the web page. So this is going to be center. And maybe the next thing is let's go ahead and say that the font size is going to be, let's set that to something like 2em. That will be enough for that. And finally on this part we're going to just say something like the font weight. Let's go ahead and set the font weight rather to be something like, let's say bold, or you can say bolder if you like. The two of them, they work just the same. So I'm going to just leave it at bolder right there. And maybe, you know, normally that links normally have underlines. So let's take away the underline to the links. So I'm just going to say text decoration. And let's go ahead and set the text decoration right now to none. So there will be no underlines underneath every link that display on that page. And finally, what I want to do now is to go ahead and set the border radius. So let the border radius right now be, let's go ahead and set that to maybe something like a 7 pixels. That should be enough. So it's going to be 7px. And like that, and that is it. So the next thing, let me scroll up so that you guys can see everything. Alright, so the next thing I would like to do right now is to go ahead and set a hover effect to that link, those links that we have just created, so that anytime you bring your mouse cursor close to the links, something happens. And that means we can just, let's do something like changing the background color of those links. And to do that, I'm going to just say background, and let's set the background color this time around to be equal to this following hexadecimal numbers. That is going to be 0 0 0 0 like that, then 6 6. That will be the color that we're going to change the background to. And finally, or the next thing that we want to do right now is to work on the p tag. That's to style the p paragraphs. And the only thing I want to do right there is just kind of send the font weight. So I'm going to just do that. I want to set it to let that be, and we should type weight right. So font weight is spelled like this. So let that be equal to bold or bolder, depending on what you want to do. So I'm going to just say bolder right there. And that is just that for now. Okay, that is just that for now. And alright, and the thing is that, okay, let's work on the footer. So if we go to the footer right now and reference to that and then write some styles for it, and let's go ahead and change the color of the footer. Let that be white. So it's going to be FFF just like that. And the next thing that I would like to do right now will be to add a padding to the footer, and let the padding be something like 10 pixels all around. And the next thing that I would like to add to that is to make sure that I keep the text to the center of the web page. So I'm going to just say text align, and that is going to be center of the web page, like that. And finally, I'm going to just set the font size for the footer. So it's going to be font dash size, and the size will be something like, let's say 2em. That will be enough for the text on the footer. So let's go ahead and save this web page right now and go back to our browser. Now let's hit the refresh button, and this is how it is looking so far right now. There, this is how it is looking, but I think there's a text that is supposed to display at the top here, and it is white right now, and that is because the background of that place is white. So we need to find out why that is doing that. Okay, but for now, let's scroll down to the bottom, and if you scroll down to the bottom, we still have the copyright to be in white color, and everything right there is just in that kind of color. I think that the problem we have now is with the body. Maybe we did not really write the right code for the body to change. Had it been we got that right, everything should be in this color, this particular color right now. So let's go back to the CSS right now, and if we scroll up to the top or to where we wrote the code for the background, and if you look at this place right now, we spell the word background, so we're supposed to have an R right here. So this is how it should be. So if we save that and go back to the web page and refresh again, we should have yeah, so this is how it should be looking. We should also add something like a horizontal roller bar to this to demarcate this product from this background. I think it will still look nice. So if we go back to the index right now, and we can do something like that right here. So that's going to be HR here, and if we also put HR down here, that will make that look pretty nice. So I'm going to save that, and if I refresh the web page, the two, yeah, so that's just looking quite okay right now. Alright, so that is it as far as the working on the CSS for the home page is concerned. We're going to still go back to the CSS later and do something. That is when we'll start working on the buy.php part of the application. But this is just how the front page is going to look right now. Alright, so what I'm going to do next is to make sure that these products that we have right here, I want to make sure that they're coming in dynamically. In that case, I think I've talked about it before, that we're going to create something like an array that we're going to be pulling in all this data. Right now, this is just a static. We statically typed this in, but we're going to use an array to make sure that they come in from an array, and which is almost the same thing that you will have to do if you were working with a database, right? So what we're going to do now is let's go back to the development environment, and let's start working on the array that will help us bring that in. And we're going to put that in the file that we'll call products.php, which is this file right now. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and let's throw in our PHP tag right here. Sorry about that. And yeah, so we'll throw in our PHP tag right here. Let's go ahead and close that, and within this place we're going to create something like a multi-dimensional array right here. So I'm going to put that in a variable that I'm going to call products, like that, and I'm going to go ahead and create an array out of that. So this is going to be an array, and within this array, what I want to do is to go ahead. Let me terminate this array right here before I forget. But within this particular array that we have right here, I'm going to create some other arrays. And of course, an array will have to have a key, and then before it could have a value. So the first key that I'm going to create right now will be 1. That is just for short for product 1. And then we are going to see how I'm going to use that in the future. So I'm going to make sure that so this is just like we're going to kind of call this a key, not an ID, but a key to an array that I'm going to create right now. So I'm going to create another array that I'm going to go ahead and call. Let's go ahead and call this array, and within this new array right now, what we're going to do is to go ahead and set a couple of other properties within this array. And the first one is going to be, let me create a key for that. This is going to be called an ID, and this ID is going to be equal to, let's say we set that to be 1 right now. So that will be the first thing that I want to do. And I'll separate that with a comma. And the next thing is going to be the title of the what is it called, the book that we want to create. So this is going to be, we're going to just type a key for that, which is going to be called the title, and we're going to go ahead and set that to be equal to the product name. And for the first product that we have, what we called it, I think we called it a paystack. So we're going to just say paystack integration ebook. That's the first title to the product that we have created. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and then use a comma to separate it again. The next thing that I want to create now will be the key for the price. So the price of the product is going to be set to be equal to, or with an arrow, we're going to just go ahead and set that to be 700, which is what we already have in our static HTML. And the last thing that I'm going to set for this array is going to be the description. So I'm going to go ahead and say type the word or the key description, and I'll go ahead and set that to be equal to the following, which typing that right now will be hard for me. So what I'm going to do is to go to the index page and copy that. So the description to the first product I will have is right here. So we call that product or ebook, and yeah, whatever we typed in there. So I'm going to just go ahead and copy this, go to this place, and go ahead and paste it right here. Okay, so that's just basically what we have in this place, and that is just that for the first product. Okay, so we could go ahead and then we really need to terminate this right here, and then the last thing that we're going to add right now will be the image. And to add an image is really very simple. All we need to do right now, let's go ahead and create a key for that. So let's call that pics, and I'm going to go ahead and set that to the following. So first of all, I'm going to use a single quotation outside. I want you to take a look at that very well. This is single quotation, and within this single quotation, I'm going to just bring in my image right there. So it's going to be img src for source, and I'm going to reference to the product, not the product but the image folder that I have. So I'm going to go into images, and after having gone to images, the next thing that I need is to fetch that particular image that is in that folder, and I think it was called the ebook1.jpg like this. That is what we'll call it. All right, so we can just we have to just kind of put that in place right now. And the next thing that we can do right now is to set a width. Let's go ahead and set a width for the image. Let's say that the width of this image is going to be let's say 100%. And after we have set the width, we can also go ahead and set the height. So let's say that the height is going to be set to be equal to something like let's say 300. So it's going to be 300 pixels. Close that quotation right there. And finally, we can go ahead and add an alternative text. So alt is equal to let's say that we're going to call that let's go ahead and just call that ebook1 like that. And we can go ahead and terminate that line right there, just like that. So you need to look at that structure very well. I have only one single quotation outside right here, and then every other quotation that I have inside is double quotation. If you mistakenly maybe use a double quotation throughout, it may not work for you. So, and then now that this is the last item that I want to add to this array, I don't need to add a comma to this place. All right, so rather where I need to add a comma will be on this place right now. So I'm going to create another array right now, and to create the next array, what I'm going to do right now is to go ahead and copy the one I already have and paste it right down there. So this is the second array, and I'm going to go ahead and call that 2 and change this one to 2 also. And then for the product, I think that was called flutter wave. So I'm going to go ahead and type flutter wave integration ebook right there. And for the description, this is going to be called the same thing, but I'm going to just go ahead and change the term that we have right here to flutter wave like that. And that is just that for that one. And the price, I think the price was 800. And then for the image, we're going to go ahead and change this from ebook 1 to ebook 2. And the extension to this one was called I think it was called GIF for GIF, and that is just that for that line. Then the next thing is to go ahead and paste the same thing that I have copied again. And before I forget, I need to take away this particular comma, because I think that this will be the last array that we have. So it is a good practice to take away the last comma right there. So I've taken away the last comma. So this is the third product, so I'm going to change this to 3, and the price to this one was called I think it was 1000. So I'm going to go ahead and add 10 right there to make it 1000. And this was called the paper, I believe that was called the paper integration ebook. So I'm going to change this from what it is right now to paper like that. So for the image, this is going to be ebook 3, and that should be a JPG extension right there. And we should also change these things. So let this be ebook let me put 3 right there, and for this one let this be 2. can just however you want to put it anyways. So it's just an alternative text in case those things don't show up. The images, in case the images don't show up, the alt text will show, and it is very good for blind readers. So that is just that. Make sure you get that this page saved as it is right now. Then what we need to do now is to go back to the index page and see how is it that we can fit these products and display them in the home page. Let's go back to the index. And alright, so now that we're on the home page, the first thing that I would like to do now is to make sure that I connect to this file, this product.php file. So I'm going to connect to that from the home page because I'm going to kind of loop through all the product that we have on that page. So I'll throw in my PHP tag right here. PHP, and I'll go ahead and close out the PHP tag down here, and within this place to a kind of a link to that file, I'm going to just say include once, and within this place let's go ahead and type that file name. So it's going to be called the products.php, and let's go ahead and terminate this line. And if you want to really check whether that was really connected, you can just use a var dump right here. You can just say var dump, and you can go ahead and then a kind of a check on we're going to take this product array, not array but variable. So we're going to copy this variable, and if you put it right here and we'll terminate this line. If you save this line is going to, if you refresh the home page, we're going to kind of print out an array of the products that we have on that page, and let's check whether that was really going to work or not. So let's refresh this web page, and as it stands, it seems like that worked. So it has printed an array. What I'm going to do now is to change the background. Let me change the background to this body so that you guys can see that very well. So let's say that the background to the body is going to be white. Let's just go ahead and say white right there. Of course, I'm going to change it back to what it is later. So if I refresh that again, you should be able to, let's go ahead and clear the cache. So you should be able to see this array right now. This is what I want to share to you. This is the array this is the first array that we have right there, printed out like that, even with the image. And this one is the second array, talking about the second product. And this is the this is the second one. This is the first, this is the second, and then the third should be somewhere down here. You know what? I think that one array is missing right now. So let's go back to the development environment and then find out which array is that. Alright, so let's take a look at the arrays. This is the first one, okay, and this is the second one, okay. And this is see where the error is. So this should be key 3. We're supposed to take this away and put 3 right there. So it's not supposed to be 1, so that it will match up with this. Alright, so that's really where the problem is coming from. So let's save that, and if we go back to the browser and refresh again, the 3 arrays should be printed right now. And let's take a look at that. This is the first one, as you can see, and this is the second one. So let's see whether we can find the third. This is the third one right now. So everything is working just correct. Alright, so I'm going back to the development environment. First thing I want to do is to make sure that I go back to the right background that I was using. So I'll go back to the right background, save that, and I'm going to go back to the index right now, and I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to go ahead and comment this out. Alright, so that is just that right now. So the next thing that I would like to do is to go ahead and delete all the static products that we have and leave just only one. So I'm going to take away this one and this one. So these two products will have to go away. And if I save that and refresh the web page, we should have only one product left right now. And as you can see, we have just only one product left in the index page. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is how is it that we're going to change this and then dynamically fetch in other products from that array. That's what we're going to do right now. And to do that is really very simple. We're going to have to use a for each loop to do that. So let's see how we can get that done right now. Alright, so to look through this right now, what we're going to do is to use for each loop, and let the for each loop be located right here. So we're going to kind of duplicate this particular div. So I'm going to just say for each like that, and in square bracket I'm going to bring in the first the products variable, and I'm going to use the keyword as to create a new variable right there, and that is going to be called the product. So this one is plural products and this is singular products, and I'm going to go ahead and add a colon right there, and then I'll terminate the PHP tag. And the next thing that I need to do right now is to go ahead and close that for each loop right here. So it's going to be and for each. like that, and that is just how it should be. So this should be end, not end false, but end false. I mean for each loop, alright? So make sure you type that way, end for each. That is just what it's going to be. And I'm making use of this product right here because I've already linked to that file from this place. So this particular variable called product is coming from this file. This is it. That is where it is coming from. And the next thing that I'm going to do right now, since I have access to this place, that means I can be using this title, index, price, description, and even the pics on this page. How would I do that? That's the only thing that is going to help me dynamically change whatever that I want to change or pull in the data from that page. So what I'm going to do first is to change the title of the product, and to do that is really simple. So I'm going to just throw in my PHP tag right here. So this is going to be PHP, and this is just how it's going to be. So within this place, I'm going to just say echo, and I'm going to make use of a product variable right there. And because it's an array, I can just use square bracket, and within this square bracket, I'm going to go ahead and bring in the title index right now. So that is it for the title. I'm going to go ahead and terminate this line, and that is just how it will be. So for the rest, of course, I'm going to write a similar code. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. For the price, I'm going to paste it on the price, and instead of title this time around, the index was called the price. So I'm going to just say price. And for the description, I'll paste that over the description text, and I'm going to change title from title to description because that's what we call it. That's the index name, description. Make sure you type every word right. So this is description. And finally, I'm going to paste that over here for the pics. And what I need to put right here is going to be pics. So I'm going to just say pics right here. And that is just how it should be, guys. That's just how it should be. So what I'm going to do right now is to save this page, and let's give that a shot in our browser. So let's go ahead and refresh this page right now. And as you can see, everything came in dynamically. So this is the first product, this is the second one, this is the third one. And what we can do right now to be sure that this is really coming in from that page is to go back to the development environment, and if we go to the product.php, let's go ahead and copy. Let's introduce a comma here first, and let's copy this product, this third product, and if we paste that right here, and let's go ahead and change, let this be 4, change this one to 4 so it can correspond, and let's go ahead and use something like let's say XYZ as the product title, and let the price this time around be something like let's say 500, and let's go ahead and type a description. Let's just enter anything, just a common kind of text right there, and let's forget about the the image. So if we save this page right now, and let's take away this last comma right here. Alright, so let's save the page, and if we refresh the home page right now, we should have 4 products right now. So as you can see, the 4th product just has to tell you that everything is working dynamically right now. Okay, so that is just that, and congratulations if your own is working up to this level. I'm going to take away this 4th product, save that, and go back to my web page, refresh, and we now have our 3 products on the desktop. I mean on the index page rather. So the next thing that we're going to be doing right now is to start working on the individual page that's talking about the buy.php page, which we have not created. But before we create that, I'm going to transform this page to something now. I'm going to add the ID of this product to the URL, because if you look down here, each time I hover on that, they're just displaying the same thing, but I want to be able to show the ID of that product, and that's basically how it also works if you are using a database. So what I'm going to do right now is to go to the index page, and I'm going to go ahead and transform this. So I'm going to add a variable right here, and let's go ahead and set the variable to be equal to something like a product. So I'm going to just say product, and let that product be equal to, I'm going to just say PHP right there, and we're going to just say echo, and of course it's going to be product, just basically almost the same way that we got other parameters in place just now. And within this place, let's go ahead and put the ID right there. So I'm going to just say ID, and that is going to basically fetch the ID for us. So I'll terminate this line and go ahead and close off my PHP tag right here. So if I save right now and refresh the web page, if everything worked fine, I should be seeing the IDs to the products. And if I hover on this is now product 1, as you can see, and this is product 2. Can you see that? Product 3. So that is just that for now. So the next thing that we're going to do is to go ahead and then create our the buy.php page. So I'm going to do that right now, and let's go ahead and call that buy.php, and let's go ahead and open that up. So this is the page that we're going to be working on right now. Alright, so what I'm going to do right now is that I'm going to copy the index page to this place, then I will modify the content. But before I do that, there's something that I need to add to this index right now, and I should have done that before now, guys. So I just want to add the year that this application is kind of getting in place. It's getting developed right now, so that anytime the year changes, we're in 2021 right now. So if we get into the year 2022, it can automatically change without somebody coming to change that manually. And to do that, we can just use PHP right here. So I'm going to just say PHP, and I'm going to just echo out a date object right here, and within this brackets, I'm going to enter a capital letter Y right there. That is just what that is going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and terminate that line and close off my PHP tag. So I'll copy everything that is in this page right now and paste it in that page called buy.php. That is just what that is going to be. And I'm going to go ahead and change a couple of things right here. And to do that, the first thing that I would like to change now will be the title. Let's say that the title is going to be something like, let's say, buy now, and we can use that on this H1 also. Let's just say something like buy now, like that. And yeah, so that is just what that's going to be. And I'm going to have to take away this loop, because what we're going to do in this page is that we're looking for a way to make sure that we kind of display an individual product. So I'll take away the loop from here, and also take away the closing tag for the loop, and I'm going to go ahead and take away these two, right? So I'm going to take away that. Of course, what I'm going to need here will be a form. I'm going to have to add a form here. But before I go ahead and add that form, what I want to do first of all is to go ahead and kind of dynamically change this to make sure that it actually displays the particular product that its ID is on the URL. That's what I'm going to do first of all. Alright, so to make those products display the individual, to make this page display an individual product dynamically, we're going to have to use, let's say we have to use an if statement right here. And I'm going to just say if set, and I'm going to just say $_get, because we're kind of passing that particular parameter through the URL, and we have a variable that will call the product on the URL. And if that is really set, what you want to do, the first thing I would like to do is to capture the ID. So I'm going to create a variable right here called ID, and that is going to be equal to $_get, which is a super global variable. And within this place, I'm going to go ahead and enter the product again, which is a variable we have on the URL. And we can go ahead and terminate this line, and we can even use it like this if we want, but we are going to kind of enter some special kind of protection right here against people that may want to do harm to our system. And to do that, we can go ahead and use something like HTML. Let's just say that this is going to be HTML special Charles as a function. So we're going to go ahead and use that. Let's wrap it around this. And if you want any additional security, you can go ahead and enter something like the raw URL and code. In fact, let me enter that right there. So it's going to be raw URL and code, like that. And you can go ahead and close that up right here. So with that, we've basically kind of protected this particular input, or this particular thing that is coming in, this particular data that is coming in from the URL. So we're kind of keeping that protected. Raw URL encode and the HTML special chars will help us protect that. Alright, so with that, we've gotten the ID, and the next thing that I want to get right now will be the product name. So I'm going to just say product_name. Like that, and I'm going to go ahead and then grab that, and to grab it I'm going to just say product, and in square brackets, I'm going to first of all bring in this particular ID which I have on the URL right now. This is coming from the URL, so I'm going to copy that and paste that right here. That will be the first index that I'm going to need, followed by the title itself. So I'm going to, inside of this place, go ahead and enter the title right there. So I'm going to just say title, and that is just how that should be. And I hope that you guys understand that since I have the ID to be coming in dynamically from the URL, that's why I'm using this variable right here, because anytime we refresh the web page or we click on the product, this is going to be changing automatically. So once that is changing automatically, for me to detect which product name, I have to use that with this that I have just said. That's just what I have just done right here. And yeah, so that is just that. So I'm going to copy that. The rest are going to look similar. So I'll copy this and paste it right here. And what I need now is to go ahead and get the price. So I'm going to change this to price. And the next one is going to be, I'm going to just go ahead and change this one to price. And then on the next line, I'm going to go ahead and get the product description, which I'm going to go ahead and call that product PESC right now. And this is going to be called a description, like that. And finally, we're going to need, I think we need one more thing, which is the pics. So I'll go ahead and then create this variable called pics. And if I want to get the pics, of course, I'll get the ID, and then the next thing is going to be to just change this to pics, just like that. And yeah, so I've basically gotten all the things that I need right now. And but yeah, that is just that. So the next thing that I want to do right now is to add an else part here, in case if we did not really get all these things that we need. What do we want to do? I guess that we can use a header, PHP header redirect right here. So I'm just say header, and this is going to be location, and I'm going to go ahead and then send those people to the index page. So it's going to be index.php, like that. And we can go ahead and then pass in a get parameter right there, and we can just create a variable that we can call empty. That means that the ID is not there, and we can go ahead and then display a message, something like a please. We can say something like a select a products to continue. So that is just that. It's going to be serving just like an error. This else part is going to serve like an error, controlling what is going to happen. So if we don't really have the ID, so I want that to redirect to home page, and that should go ahead and display this as a message. Okay, so but basically this is just what we have right now. Okay, if we save this right now and we go to the browser, let's refresh our browser. And if we click on this particular product right now, it's going to attempt to open that product for us, and we have an error called undefined function HTML special chars. So that's a function that is not. Let's take a look at that. That's on line 5. This is line 5, and I don't seem to see any error with this. This is raw URL encode, and we have a HTML special chars. You know what we're going to do right now? Maybe we should take off this raw URL encode. I really did not do that earlier, so I don't want to go through the hassle of trying to debug that right now. What I did earlier was this. But I know that raw HTML, a raw what is it called? Raw URL encode also works very fine with trying to take care of things that are coming from the URL. I think you should either use only raw URL encode instead of using the two together. But for now, I'm going to just leave this as the HTML special chars. I'm going to just use only this to protect what I want to do right now. But the choices are up to you. You can just go ahead and do a little research on how to use that. But for this video, let's just continue with this. So if I refresh this web page, it should have that. Okay, so this is what the page now opens. All right, the page now opens. So what I'm going to do next is to go ahead and kind of populate this place right now. And if I populate that, let's see what the error is going to kind of tell us then. So let's go back to our development environment. If we go ahead and populate this place right now with the variables that we have created up here. So this is going to be the first one is called what? Let's just take a look at that. The first one is called the product name. So I'm going to copy product right now, and I'll go ahead and paste it right here. And the next one is what's called the product price. So let me get that. This is called the price. I'm going to take price right now, and if I scroll down, paste it against the price. And the next one is product description. So I'll take the description right now, copy that, and I'm I'm going to paste that against the product description right here. And then finally, I think I need the pics. So I'll take the pics right now, scroll back down and paste it right here. So this is basically the things that I need right now. And go back and refresh that web page. By then we'll now look at what this error is even talking. Alright, so the error says that undefined variable products in line. This is line 6789. So I guess I know why that is coming up. Okay, see the error right here. This is not supposed to be just product. We are getting that from this particular variable that is in the product page. So this is what we should have. It should be products, not product or products. Alright, since we are getting it directly from this place. So let's go back to the buy.php and then add s to all of them. So this is going to be product. This second one is going to be product, and this one is also going to be product, and this one is finally going to be products. So if I save that and refresh, that web page should not have that particular error anymore, and that should not populate this for us. And as you can see, that is just working fine right now. Okay, that is just working fine right now, and I can see an error down here talking about PHP echo date. So let's find out why this is showing, and that should be coming from the index page. We're supposed to also take care of that on the index page. But however, the problem we have right here is that we did not add this particular sign, this question mark, to this place. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. I'll save that, and if I go to the index page also, I should also kind of make sure that I take this away and put that question mark right there, and those errors should be gone right now. So this is it. All right, so let's correct this typographical error, and so that is coming from the buy.php page, I believe. Let's correct that right now. That is supposed to be called BUI. That is. Alright, so that is just that. So the next thing that we're going to do right now is to go ahead and add a form to this particular div. So we're going to add a form to that so that people can type in their email address and proceed with the payment of that particular product using Paystack. Alright, so let's go ahead and put the form right here. So I'm going to put the form tag immediately, and then the action. I'm going to go ahead and set the action to empty strings, and that means it's going to use this page for the processing. I'm going to set the method. Let's go ahead and set the method to post, and so that is just that for that. And let's go ahead and close that form down here. And the first thing that I need right now is going to be a label. So let's create a label for the form or for the input, and that's going to be, let's go ahead and put your email right here. So let's close the label right there. And finally, the next thing that I'm going to need right now is going to be to put the input. So this is going to be input type, and of course the type of the input is going to be called the email. And let's go ahead and give it a name. Let the name of this particular input be email as well. And for the placeholder, let's say that the placeholder is going to be something like let that be equal to enter your email here. Alright, so that is just that for now, and we can go ahead and also add a required attribute right there. And yeah, so that is just what that is right now, and we can go ahead and close that right there. And then on the next line, let's go ahead and bring in the input button. So the input button that we're going to bring right now will be, the submit button. So we are going to say input type. We'll go ahead and set that to something like we'll go ahead and set that to submit, and let the name of the submit button be equal to submit. And let's say that the value, that's the text that people are going to be clicking on, the text that they will see, let's say that that's going to be order now, and that should be okay. That looks fine for me. So we're going to go ahead and terminate this, and we'll go ahead and save that. And the next thing that we're going to do right now is to go ahead and give it some styling. So if we go to our CSS right now, let's scroll down and put the styling right here. Let's say we're going to do the styling right here. Alright, so the first thing I want to do right now is to work on the label. So I'm going to just type the word label right here and give it some style. So I'm going to just say that the font size to that label is going to be, so let's say we'll give it that 2 EM. so it's going to be 2em. And the next thing that I want to do is to increase the font weight. So I'm going to just say font weight, and let the font weight be something like, let's say it's going to be bolder. And then finally I'm going to just change the color of that particular font, the label, to something like, let's say, red. Alright, so that's just what I need to do right there. And the next thing that I would like to do now is to work on the input type email. And to do that, we can just say form, that is form, and I'm going to just say input, and in square bracket I'm going to just say type, and that is going to be equal to email. That is just it for working on the input type email. So to give you the style that I would like to give you right now, the first thing I would like to do is to go ahead and give it a width, and let the width be 100%, at least for now. We'll see how that goes. And let's say that we're going to give that a padding. Let's say that the padding is going to be 2 pixels all around, 2 pixels. And next thing that I want to do now is to just say that the color is going to be red. So as we type, the email is going to be red in color. And finally, let's say that the font size to that is going to be, I think if we give it 20 pixels, that won't be bad at all. Let's say 20px. That is just it for the input email. And I'm going to copy this right now, and let me copy this, use that and work on the input type submit. So I'll paste that right here, and let me scroll up so that you guys can see everything that I'm doing right now. Okay, then for the submit, I'm going to go ahead and change this to submit. This is going to be submit right now. And for the width, we are going to go ahead and leave it at 100%, but we're going to go ahead and give it a margin. So let's say that the margin is going to be something like let's say 5 pixels. So I'm going to change this to margin. This is going to be margin, and it's going to be 5 pixels, so I'll change it to 5, and that is just that. Okay, so the color, instead of red, we're going to use white here. So this is going to be FFF right there, and that's white. Then for the font size, it's going to be, change this to something like 1.5 em. And yeah, so that is just what that is going to be. Then for the background, let's say that the background of that submit button is going to be red. So let's say background color, we're going to go ahead and set that to red. And so the next thing that I would like to do right now after setting that background is to go ahead and set the border to none. So let's say that the border is going to be set to none. And finally, the border radius right now, let's say that the border radius or radius, I don't know how you pronounce that, is going to be something like, let's go ahead and give that 14 pixels. And finally, we can go ahead and kind of change the cursor. So I'm going to just change that to something like a pointer. That is it for the submit button. And the next thing that I would like to do now is to just give a kind of a hover effect to that submit button. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and if I paste that down here, sorry about that, I'm going to have to paste that right here, and I'm going to take away all of this, take everything away except the background. So I'll take this away, and the color that I want to give to the background, anytime someone hovers on it, it's going to be this. So it's going to be hash. It's going to be hash 0000 then 6 like that. I think yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So this is the color that is going to change to. Anytime you bring your mouse button close to it, it's going to go ahead and change to that particular color. So that is just that. And before I close this place, I think we'll have to kind of work on the rest of the CSS right now. And I'm going to create something like an ID letter that I'm going to call error. So let's go ahead and kind of write the style to it right now. So that is going to be background. Let's go ahead and set something like background color, and we'll go ahead and set it to something like white. And then for the color of the text now, let's say that the color is going to be red. So go ahead and type the word red right here, and we're going to kind of push the text to the center of the page. So it's going to be center. And we're going to just kind of convert that to something like, let's go ahead and say display I want to display the text as block level elements, and the font size right now, let's say that the font size is going to be 2em. That's what that's going to be. Alright, and I'm going to show you where I'm going to apply this right now, and that is really coming from what we have already written about right here, talking about this error. Let me show you this error right now. I'm talking about this error. So if someone couldn't type in what he's supposed to type in, I mean, they try to access the page without having the ID on the URL, we need to redirect to the home page. And if we redirect to the home page, we want to be able to display that error to the person. Okay, that's what we're doing right now. And let's go ahead and save that, save everything. We go to the right now, we try to access this page. You see that that page will not open. It takes us back to the index page, and if you look at the URL, that error has been displayed. So let's look for how to pick this particular error and display it somewhere down in this page. So I'm going to go to the index page. I'm sorry that I'm really digressing right now. I should have done this before now, but you just have to bear with me. I just remembered that I need to do that. Okay, so we're going to have to, let's go ahead and put that somewhere around this place. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put that right here, and that's going to be a span. So I'm going to type the word span, and that's an ID, so it's going to be equal to error, like that. And I'm going to, within this place right now, what I'm going to do right now is to kind of let me close that span first of all. I don't have anything within for now, but I'm going to go to the top of this page and kind of fetch that error right now. And to fetch the error, we can do it with an if statement. So we're going to just say if is set, this is going to be $_get, and within this place right now, what we're going to do is to pick that word that is on the URL. I think it is called empty, so I'm going to pick empty right now. That's really the variable that contains what we're looking for. So I'm going to just say empty, like that. And if that is really in the URL, the first thing that we're going to do right now is to just create a variable. So I'm going to just say error, and I'm going to go ahead and grab the error right now. And to grab it, we can just say $_get, and within this place we can go ahead and get that error right now. So we say empty, and if you want to wrap that in that HTML special charge function, you can still do that. So I'm going to wrap that right there with that, and I'm going to go ahead and terminate. Then what I'm going to do right now is to copy this particular variable which contains the error that is already set on the URL, and I'm going to have to kind of put it right here, and that is going to be with PHP. So I'm going to say PHP echo, and I'm going to paste that variable that I just copied now and close my PHP tag. So if I go back to the index page right now and refresh, I should have that error displayed because I don't already have anything on that page. But had it been that I just showed up on this page without having anything, you see that I'm going to have this error, right? I'm going to have this error. So you don't want this error to always be displaying. So what you need to do right now is really very simple, and I will show you that right now. Alright, so let's go back to the development environment. See, what you need to do so that that error will not always be displaying even though it is not set, is to add an else part here. So you can just say else, and within this place you can just put the variable again, which I think I still copied that. So you can go ahead and then set it to nothing. Okay, so it's going to be set to nothing. In that case, anytime you refresh the page, if nothing is in that particular variable, you will not be seeing that error. So that is that. So if you click on any of the product, it takes you to this page, and this is how the form that we just created is looking right now. If you don't fill the form and click on other now, you should get an error telling you that this field must be filled. So that is basically how that is looking right now. And the next thing that we're going to start doing right now is to go ahead and integrate paystack. And I know that this is what you guys have been waiting for, and and finally we're going to do that right now. Alright, so before I go ahead and then do the integration right now, let me explain what we're about to achieve. So we want it in such a way that when someone comes to the index of this page and maybe the person clicks on this particular product, which is product 3, that really opens up. We want to make sure that the person types in an email right here and click on order now. If the person didn't click on that, we want to report an error, and we've already done that with HTML5. So if I click on order now right now, you're going to see that this will pop up. You can also do that with server side, but I'm not going to bother myself doing that right now. The only thing I want to do now is that when someone clicks on this submit button, after you have typed in something, an email in this place, I want to go ahead and capture that email, because before you can make payments on Paystack, you need to have an amount and you need to have an email before you can successfully make payment on Paystack. And we have the price ready in place, so the only thing we need right now is to capture the person's email, and we're going to do that dynamically right now. So let's go back to our development environment and do just that. So we'll go to buy.php and let's go ahead and then start that from here. I'm going to just say something like I'm going to just say integrate paystack, and to do that, you know that we created a form. We created a form on this page that the name of the submit button is called submit. So we're going to check for that submit button first of all, and to do that is really very simple. We want to make sure that before the code for the integration execute, somebody must have clicked on the submit button. So we're going to do that right now. So I'm going to just use if statement for that. So if is set, and this is going to be $_ post, because we are doing everything in post array, and the name of the form was called the submit button was called submit. So I'm going to type submit right here, and within this curly brackets, what I want to do right now is to start the integration. So how do I do that? I need to first of all kind of capture the email. So what I'm going to do now is to set a variable that I'm going to call email, and that is going to be equal to $_ post, and the name for that particular email field in the form was called email. So I'm going to just type email right now, and to protect what we are doing from harm, we can just still wrap that with HTML special chars like this to keep things secure. So we're going to go ahead and terminate that line, and that is just that for getting the email. So the next thing that I would like to do right now is to go ahead and initialize paystack. So I'm going to put a comment right here and just say something like initiate paystack. And to do that, it's really very simple. The first thing that I would like to do now is to get the URL to the endpoint of initializing payment on Paystack. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and put that in a URL variable. So let me just go ahead. I'm going to take you to the documentation right now and get the URL. So let's go back to our browser, and if we go to the documentation page, and this is the documentation page. If I click on transactions right now, that's going to scroll up to the transactions section, and this is the section. So what I need right now is I'm going to need this. This is what I'm going to need right now. So I'll go ahead and copy this, and if I go back to my development environment, I'll go ahead and paste that right here. That's basically what I need to initialize a transaction right now. And once I have that in place, the next thing that I want to do right now is to go ahead and gather the body params. That's the body parameters. So I'm going to put a comment here and say, let's say gather body params, and what I need in the body parameter is just I'm going to need an email, and I'm going to need an amount, callback function, and then some other things that I may need. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to put that in a variable. So I'm going to call that variable, let's call that transaction_data. That's just what we're going to call that right now, and that's going to be an array. So I'm going to put a square bracket right here, and I'll go ahead and terminate the square bracket right here before I forget. And yeah, so the next thing that I need right now, or the first thing that I need, is to go ahead and get the email. So I'm going to just say, I'm going to go ahead now and get the email index right here like this, and I'm going to go ahead and set that to be equal to the email variable that we have up there. So I'm going to just type email, the variable, and the next thing that I need right now, and of course this should not be a terminating character, this should be a comma because it's an array. I'm still listing the array items, so this is going to be a comma right here. So on the next line is going to be the amount, so I'm going to just in a quotation and type amount like that, and we should type amount very well. This is incorrect, and so that's just what that is going to be. So let's go ahead and then set the variable for the amount, and I think that we'll call that a price. That was what we called it. If you look up here, you see that this is price. That's what contains the amount, and we're going to multiply that by 100. And the reason that I'm doing that is because Paystack charge is a customer in such a way that whatever price or whatever amount that you type, they go ahead and divide it by 100. That's, they round it up to a kobo. And if you don't do this by multiplying it by 100, that's going to end up charging you less than the real amount that you want to charge. In order to correct that and make that round up to the normal amount, we're going to have to multiply it by 100. So that after they divide it by 100, and then you multiply that by 100, it's going to round up to the normal amount. So that's why I'm doing that. Okay, so I introduce a comma right there, and the next thing that I need right now is going to be the callback URL. So I'm going to just say callback underscore URL, and this callback URL, what it's going to do is that it's going to be the URL that your customers will land after they make successful payment. In this case, it's going to be the verify endpoint. We're going to have to reach the verify file, which we have not really created now, but we're going to do that later. And to put the URL, I'm going to just say HTTP, and this is going to be on my local machine, so it's going to be HTTP:// and I'm going to just say localhost / it was called a cell dynamic, right? So I'm going to just say cell dynamic. That was the folder name, and where I want it to go is going to be called the verify.php. That's the file that we have not created, but we assume that that is going to go there. Alright, another bit of important data that we need to add right here is called the Metadata. So I'm going to just type Metadata right there. And what I'm going to do with this Metadata is that I'm looking for a way that anytime someone buys a product from my store, I want Paystack to be able to send me a kind of a notification email that somebody just bought a particular product from my store. And in doing that, I want Paystack to be able to include the product name, the product price, and then the product whatever. So anything that concerns the product that the person bought, I want to be able to see it in my dashboard, so that if I want to respond, I can start responding to them from there. Alright, so and to do that, we're going to have to put that as a metadata. And that's going to be an array of some arrays. So the first thing that I'm going to do right now is just go ahead and set that to this particular array. So it's going to be set to array like this, and this is going to be square bracket. And within this square bracket right now, and the first thing that I need to do is to create a new array, which is called custom_fields. So I'm going to just type custom_fields like that, and that is going to be set to, I'm going to get out of that place like this and go ahead and set that to another square bracket like this. And then within this particular custom fields, which is an array, so I introduce another square bracket right now. And within this place, this is now the right time to start spelling out those custom fields that you want to show off. And the first one that I'm going to do now will be the product name. And to do that, I'm going to just, the index is going to be called, the first one is going to be called the display name, display_name. That's the name that is going to be displayed within Paystack. So that's going to be set to, I'm going to just say product, let's just say product name right there, and I'm going to introduce a comma, and the next one is going to be, let's go ahead and call the next one. The next one is really called, I'm not the one calling it what I'm calling it right now. This is what Paystack really sets for us. So this was called a variable_name within Paystack, and we can go ahead and set that to be equal to, something like let's go ahead and call that product like that, then introduce a comma, and the next thing that they have is called a value, and that is going to be the value of the product. In this case, what I'm going to do right now is to go ahead and include the variable name that contains the product name. So I'm going to go ahead and then include the variable. So we'll call it a product underscore name, which is what we have right up here. If you look up here, you see that. Okay? So that's just what I just typed. And that last one is not going to need it's not going to need a semicolon. I mean a comma. Okay. So where I need a comma right now will be right here. So I'm going to introduce a comma, and I'm going to go ahead and copy this particular array. Copy that so that I can use that to work on the product description and then the product price. Alright, so that is that. So let's work on the product description right now. So I'm going to go ahead and do something like let's go ahead and put description right here. I mean a product description. So this is going to be, and for the what is it called, the variable name, let the variable name be called the description. And finally, we're going to need the variable name for the description. So this is going to be product underscore DESC. I guess that's what that is called, and that is just that for now. And finally, we're going to need to bring in the price. Let me scroll up a bit. So paste, I've already copied, and I'm going to take away this last comma right here. You see this comma? Because this is going to be the last item that I'm going to add now. So I'll take away that last comma, and what I need to do right now is to change this to product price. So it's going to be price here, and right here the variable name, let's just call that a price. And finally, this is going to be called just price, just like that. And yeah, so that is just how to set up the metadata. Yeah, so make sure that your own is just the way that my own is right now. So take a look at that very well. It started from and ended right here. Make sure that your own looks just like mine. Alright, so the next thing that I would like to do now, let me get out of this square bracket, is to go ahead and put a comment here and say generate a URL encoded string. And to do that is really very simple. I'm going to have to do that from the transaction data that I have up there. I'm going to go ahead and put that in a variable that I will call it encode. I'm going to call that encode transaction underscore data, and that is going to be equal to the function called http. It's going to be called http underscore build underscore query, like that. And I'm going to go ahead and pass in a variable that I'm going to call the transaction data. This is going to be transaction data, which is the variable that we have all of these things. Okay, so I'll terminate that line, and the next thing that I would like to do now is to go ahead and then open connection to query. So I'm going to put a comment right there and say open connection to cURL, because I'm basically trying to initiate query right now. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and put that in a variable, which I'm going to just say ch, which is short for call handler, and I'm going to use the function to init that. I'm going to just say cURL underscore init, and that is just how it's going to be to initiate a call. So with this line alone, I've actually initiated a call, and that is just that. So the next thing that I want to do right now is to let me go ahead and kind of let's say we set the URL that we have above there. Alright, so to go ahead and set the URL, we're going to use a function called call setup to do that, and that is very simple. I'm going to just put a comment first of all and say something like let's go ahead and say set the URL. And to do that, I'm going to just say cURL, that's call underscore setup. That's the function that we're going to be using to kind of set a couple of options that we're going to need. So that's going to be call underscore setup. And within this function, the first thing that I need now is going to be the call handler. That's the ch variable that we have up there. I'm going to just say ch, and that basically this function is going to be always needing 3 parameters. Alright, and the first one in this case is going to be that ch, and the second one is going to be the algorithm. So the algorithm is going to be cURL call opt, like this. So that's going to be called call opt underscore URL. That's going to be the algorithm that we need right now. And we're going to go ahead and pass in the the URL to the transaction initialization endpoint, which will save the URL as a variable up there. So if you scroll to the almost the top of this page, you should be able to see that talking about this right here. So this is what I'm talking about. We're going to go ahead and set that right there, and that is just that for that line. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do now is to, let's say we enable data to be sent in post arrays. Alright, and to do that, we're still going to have to put that in that same function. So cURL underscore setup, and we're going to go ahead. The first thing, of course, we're going to need the ch, the call handler, and the next one is going to be what is it called, the algorithm. So the algorithm this time, or the constant, is going to be cURL callout like that underscore post comma, and we're going to have to set that to true, and that means that this particular one has this particular algorithm has two values. It has a false and it has a true Boolean value. So two Boolean values, that's what it has. But because we want to enable that, we're going to have to set that to true right now. So I'm going to terminate this line and move on. Alright, so the next thing that we need to do now is to go ahead and kind of set the, let's collect the posted data. So I'm going to just put a comment here and say collect the posted data from above. And to do that is really very simple. So it's going to be cURL call setup, and we're going to go ahead. Of course, we need the ch first of all, and the next thing that we need is going to be the constant, and let the constant this time around is going to be callout, and instead of using post alone, this time around is going to be called the post fields. So I'm going to just type post fields like this. So this is just what is going to be post fields, and I hope I typed that right. Yeah, so callout underscore post fields. Alright, so that is just that. Then the next thing that you need is going to be this variable that we'll have up here, because we'll have all of the data in that place. So we're going to go ahead and pick that and paste that right here, and we can go ahead and terminate this line. So that's just that for that. And next thing that we're going to need now is to set the headers for the endpoint. So I'm going to just go ahead and put a comment here and say set the headers from the endpoint. And to do that is really very simple. We're still going to have to put that in a setup cURL setup function, and the first parameter that we're going to need, of course, is going to be ch, and the next thing that we're going to need is going to be the algorithm or the constant. So this is going to be cURL callout, and this time around this is not going to be called post. Rather, what it's going to be called is HTTP. So I'm going to just say HTTP header. Alright, this is going to be what? HTTP header, and I hope that I spelled that right. And for the next thing that we're going to want, talking about the third parameter, that is going to come in as an array, because it's not just one thing that we need right there. So I'm going to type the word array right there, and within this array function, let's go ahead and then let's terminate this line right now before we forget. So within this place, we're going to need a couple of things right here, and the first thing that I'm going to need will be the authorization. So I'm going to type the word authorization right here, and colon, then I'm going to go ahead and then type the word bearer. And what we're going to do with this is basically going to get our API key. We're going to get our API key and then paste it right there. So let me go back to my dashboard right now and get my own API key right now. And if I go to my dashboard right now, alright, so if you are logged into your dashboard right now, I want you to go to settings, click on settings, and once the settings page opens, you need to go to API keys and webhooks. And once that page opens, we basically have two sets of keys right here. The first set is just talking about the live keys, and with that or paystack means that you have to be on a live mode before you can use the keys on this place. Okay, that is just what the first set of the keys is talking about. So that is a live secret key. If you are using PHP like I'm using on Node.js, you can use this particular key. Once you click on this eye icon, you're going to have to type your, your password, and then the key will be revealed to you. Then the next one is the public live key, which you can use with JavaScript or HTML if you are just integrating using a front-end development environment. And the second set of key is talking about when you're on a test mode like I am right now, because if you look at this place, I'm on a test mode. So the right key for me to use now will be this one that is here, test secret keys, that I'm still testing. And you should be using this now if you are still on test mode, unless you are on live mode from here. Okay, so this is my test secret key. Because I'm using PHP, I will have to use this particular one. If I was using only JavaScript or HTML alone, I would copy this one. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and copy this. So I'll click on this eye icon, and that is going to display my key for me. I'm going to copy that. As you can see, it says copied. So I can now go to my development environment and paste that right here. So this is my own key. Alright, this is my own test secret key. So copy your own and paste. And don't use mine. Please don't use my own, because if you use mine, you are going to have some serious errors. And if I ever switch to a live mode and you're still using my own keys, all the money that you are going to be making will be sent to my own account, and you don't want that. So better have to use your own and don't use mine. Even though I don't use this account, this is just like a test account for me. I have a separate account that I use with them. Alright. So the next parameter that I need right here is going to be the, let me just go ahead and set the cache control right here. So I'm going to just say cache dash control, and let's go ahead and set that to no cache. So it's going to be no dash cache, just like that. Okay, and that's basically what I need right now. So what I need to do, next thing that I need to do right now is to set that to make sure that I allow cURL to execute the code. So let me just scroll up and then do that right here. So to allow cURL to, let me just put a comment here. Let me just say something like make cURL return the data instead of echoing, just like that. And then to do that, I'm going to just put that in cell and call up setups right there. And I'm going to need, of course, the first parameter is going to be ch, and the constant is called cURL, which is a call out, and underscore. This time around is going to be return transfer. The next parameter that I need is going to be that we're going to set that to true, and that is just that. So this is just a call out underscore return transfer, and I hope I spelled that right. And that is just that. So the next thing that we need to do now is to go ahead and let's say something like let's put a comment here and say execute post, or execute, let's just say execute cURL. That's what we're going to do right now. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and put that in a variable I'm going to call, let me call that result, and that's going to be with this function called cURL underscore exec. Exec right there. I'm going to need the ch as a parameter in that place. So with that line alone, this particular line, I've really executed all of these things that we set up here. So that is just what that means. And before I proceed, I would like to set an error checking kind of a stuff right here. So I'll just say something like a check for errors. And to do that, if we put it in an if statement, that will not be bad at all. So I'm going to just say if error. I think we should, let's first of all set a variable for that first of all. So I'm going to just say error or errors. Let's just say errors is equal to, we're going to have to make use of a call underscore error, which is a function in call. And I'm going to need this parameter, this variable called ch, and within this if statement, I'm going to just say if errors. Right now, that means if error is really set, what do you want to do? We can just use a simple die function right here, and you can check for this error anyhow you want, but I'm just going to go ahead and put a die function right there and say I'm going to just say call returned some error, like that, and I'm going to concatenate onto this go ahead and put that variable called errors. It's going to be errors like that, and that's just how I want to set it up right now. Yeah, that's really what I want to do now. Alright, so what I'm going to do right now to see what is returning to me from paystack, I'm going to just use the var_dump function here. So I'm going to just say var_dump, and let me go ahead and dump that result to see what paystack is really bringing back to us, if everything works just fine. So we just have to save this page, and I guess that will not show up right now for a reason. We're going to get an error about the coil of a thing. So let's in a new tab right now. Instead of using that on a new tab, let's go ahead and let's do that here. Let's say that we have this particular product in place and we want to purchase that. Alright, so let's say we want to purchase this particular product right now. If we go ahead and type in the, what is it called, the email that we want to use, let's say that we're going to use Dangote let's say at test.test, and we'll go ahead and click on order now. Something is going to happen. I guess that will be an error. So let's see what the error is going to be this time around. And as you can see, we have this error returned to us saying that coil returns some error SSL certificate problem, unable to get local issuer certificate. And that's the problem that most people are having whenever they are integrating paystack to their web application on their local machines. And some people will tell you that you have to install something like a local issuer certificate on your system before you can make use of them. But I figured out how to do that without having to install any local issuer certificate on your system. You don't have to install that software before you can use them. So what I did was to just include a single line of code that helped me turn this mandatory SSL checking off. And I'm going to show you that right now. So let's go back to our development environment. And if you scroll up to right there where we initiated our coil, talking about this place right now, and let's put a comment here and say something like let's say turn off. You can say mandatory SSL checking. And to do that is really very simple. Let's go ahead and put it in the coil setups, and the first parameter is going to be our ch. And as far as the algorithm is concerned, so for the constant it's going to be callout. So this is callout. So this is going to be callout, and callout underscore SSL underscore verify peer. And then the third parameter that we need is just going to be, we're going to go ahead and set that to true. To false, not true. We're going to go ahead and force that to go to false. We're not going to set that to true, because if you set it to true, it's going to try to push over to HTTPS. Alright, so by default it is set to push over to HTTPS, but we want to be sure that we want to kind of turn that off since we are developing local on our system. Alright, but if you are online, if you take this online and you have a HTTPS enabled on your system, you can just come back and turn this place to true, or you can completely comment this line of code out, because by default it's going to force over to that particular HTTPS, and that is a good thing because it's going to help protect your customers' data. Alright, so just make sure that you type that right. This is callout underscore SSL underscore verify peer. So that's just what I have right there. And then the boolean value that we have to enter here is false, not true this time around. So let's go ahead and save that, and if we go back to our browser and refresh, we should be able to bypass this error right now. So let's refresh this page, click on continue, and what we'll have right now, I think we'll have an error. So they said invalid email address passed. So that means the email address that I typed is really not correct. So we're going to have to repeat that, but you should be happy right now that everything is now working. It's now being able to tell us whether the email is correct or not. So I'm going to change that email to something that makes a little bit of sense. So this is going to be, let's say I used the Dangote right time, and it was Dangote at Gmail. Let me now use at Gmail this time around .com. And I don't know whether that email really exists, so I'm going to just go ahead and then use that anyhow. And congratulations. So let me refresh let me highlight this. So as you can see, we now have the status to be set to true. The message says authorization URL created, and the data right now within the data array we have authorization URL, which is what you have right here now, and The access code is also set, the reference code is also right there right now. And if you want to really purchase this product now using the email that was typed in, you can go to this particular URL. Let me copy that URL right now. So an authorization has really been created with this particular URL right now with that email. So if I go to a new tab and I go ahead and open that right now, let me sort through that particular authorization URL. We're going to see that it's going to open the checkout page for us, and that's going to have that particular email, then go to gmail.com, and then the price of that particular product. And if you want to buy that, you can really do that now. So let's go ahead and do that. So if I click on this particular card right now, I want a test code, so let me use this. If I click on pay, that payment is going to go through. You see that has gone through, and it's going to try to redirect to a page that we have not created yet, but we're going to do that maybe in the next one. So but that is just a sign that everything that we are working on right now is working just fine. And if you go to your dashboard now, we're going to see that that payment really came in. So if you go to transactions, and we have that payment is right here, then go to gmail.com, and this is the reference key that just came in right now. And if you look at this URL, you see that the reference is still the same, ICCV blah 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 blah. So that is just what we have here, ICCV and the rest. So that means that it's really working. But I think you see what we did right here. We had to copy this and paste that on another tab to be able to make payments. That's not really what you would like your customers to do, okay? So we're going to do it in such a way that you should be able to redirect them directly to that page, the payment page, upon filling their email and then hitting the submit button. So let's go back to our development environment and then see how we can do that right now. So if we scroll down, and I'm going to go ahead and comment this line of code out right now. And what I want to do now is to go ahead and redirect to that page automatically. So I'm going to just say something like the first thing that I want to do now will be to just convert everything that I have on this result is in form of an array right now. But if I want to put them in an object, the first thing that I will need to do right now is to kind of do that down here. So let me see how I will do that now. Alright, so to convert to an object, I'm going to just put that in a variable, and let's say, and this is a mistake here. So this is where I really want to put that. So I'm going to just type a variable here. I'm going to call that a transaction, and I'm going to go ahead and set that to a function called JSON underscore decode, and that is going to help me convert everything to objects. So what I need right here is to take this variable name called result, and I'm going to go ahead and pass in right here to this function. That's the only parameter that I need right now. And let's go ahead and terminate this line. So that line has been terminated, and the next thing that we can do right now is to go ahead and automatically redirect the customers to the payment page. So I'm going to put a comment here and say automatically redirect customers to the payment page. Alright, and to do that is really very simple. We're going to use a function in PHP called a header redirect to do that. So I'm going to just say header, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in quotation. This is going to be location and colon. This is going to be that we're going to concatenate onto this. So there's going to be a dot here, and once I put that dot, I'm going to have to need this variable called a transaction. So I'll copy that transaction and paste it right here. So I'll put that right there, and to access the URL right now, I'm going to have to put an arrow right here. First of all, I have to take the data, and I'll show you why I'm using that right now. I'll take the data. After I take the data, the next thing that I will need to take will be the URL, the authorization URL. You see, talking about this particular URL right here. So I'm going to copy this, because this particular key contains the URL, so it's going to automatically be changing this to whatever to anybody that is really coming in, depending on the person's access code. Is going to kind of take the person to the payment page. So copy that authorization URL and paste it right here. You see how that how I did that? So I'm going to go ahead and terminate this line. And if you're wondering why I'm using data before accessing the authorization URL, that is because if you look at this array that is printed on this screen right now for us, you're going to notice that this data contains this following object or this array. You see that authorization is embedded inside of data. So you need to access data before you can have access to authorization URL, even access code, and even reference. It's only when you want to access, let's say, status, that you don't need to pass through that data, okay? Or even the message. If you want to access the message, you don't need to pass through data. So that is why I'm using that, and I hope that you guys understand that. So let's go ahead and save this page right now, and then let's try again to see whether that is going to automatically redirect to that payment page right now. So let's go back to the index page, and let's say we want to purchase this first one. If I hit that buy button, and I'll go ahead and enter my email right now. Let's say I put CJ. No, let me put an email that is not already in existence right there. So let me say something like Hecky James at gmail.com, and this, I don't think I have this email in the transactions that I already have. So I'm going to click order now, and that should automatically take us to the payment page, guys. You see that's how that is working. You don't have to copy, your customers don't have to copy the authorization URL to another tab in order to make payment anymore. So this is HeckyJames at gmail.com, and the price is 700 naira. And if you want to pay, you can select any of these cards right now and click on pay, and hopefully that payment should go through. And congratulations, it has gone through. And let's check our email right now. So if I go to Gmail, and as you can see, that just came in. Even the first one came in. We didn't check our email before now, but it's already there. So I'm just going to go ahead and open the latest one that we just did, which is HeckyJames at gmail.com. So if I open that email right now, we're going to see that we just received an email, just paid you whatever amount, and so this is the price the person just paid. This is the reference payment, the reference code, and this is what is ending the card, and we have the product name pasted right here, even the description, and finally the product price. So we see how everything is working just dynamically, and if you buy another one, it's still going to change and update that. Alright, so if let's for instance go back and check the one that contains Dangote, you see how that one is 1,000 naira as a price, and we really have everything that we need in place. So that's just how dynamic that is right now. Okay, that's how dynamic. And if you go to your, what is it called, your transactions, meaning your dashboard, you still see that everything will be coming in dynamically. Okay, so the last person, HeckyJames, will also show up right now. So if you look at here, you see HeckyJames. All right, so that's just that. And I think that we're going to have to stop it right here. And the next one, we're going to work on this page called verify.php. This one has taken too much time already, so we're going to work on that. So if you don't know how to verify a payment before you give value, then the next video is going to illustrate that. And if you want to go further than what you have we're about to cover on this part, I have a course on Udemy, and I also have an ebook that is ready. I've covered all of these, even this particular integration that I'm doing now with a multi-dimensional array. I did it with a pure PHP and a MySQL, where I have to fetch things from the database, and then instead of using these arrays, I did that in one of the videos that I have, and it's also available in my ebook. So if you need that, you can just go ahead and then connect with me, thelordofapps@gmail.com. So that is just that. Alright, so I'll see you in the next one. And this email that I just received, the email that Paystack is a copy of the email that Paystack will send to the owner of the shop. So that is that, and I'll see you in the next one.